Hey, y'all, welcome back to Perspectives. I am really, really excited about my guest today. Today, I have with me Kelly O'Connor. Kelly is special for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is Kelly and I have known each other and have been friends since middle school, right?
We have
That's like
probably 12 or
lifetimes.
13.
I know that's a lot of lifetimes. And it's interesting because we got to watch each other. We knew each other when we were like really goofy, in that goofy early teenage. We knew each other in our angst years of 16 and 17 years old. And I've got to just kind of keep an eye and keep in touch with Kelly as we have grown into the women that we are today, all the changes. And so I gave her a really big warning when we started how organic this conversation is going to be. So I think she might be a little nervous because she's. However, Kelly, what I want to start with is I would love for you to tell people a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on the show. You know the whole story, so so we will see where today's conversation goes. But I am calling in from Denver, Colorado, and I am originally from Florida and ended up here in Colorado, which I absolutely love. And I'm an elder care consultant and legacy life coach. So I work with people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s and their families, helping them navigate the later life experience. And it is a joy. To say the least, it is has been the joy of my life to work with these blessed souls.
It's amazing because where did you originally start career wise?
Well, I originally started in the fashion business. I worked in public relations and marketing. And so that was a dream of mine. We grew up right when MTV was launching, and I was just mesmerized with, rock and roll and the fashion industry and everything that I saw on MTV. And that's all I wanted to do. And so I started working in public relations, working for retail companies, and then eventually worked in a corporate office for one brand, and was able to have quite a career living in Los Angeles and working in New York and going back and forth. It really was a dream come true at that time.
So when did you find this passion to work with our elders?
Well, it came from personal experience, which most people that enter into our industry get there through some sort of personal life experience. And when I was growing up, we had two grandmothers who lived with us. My maternal grandmother, my mom's mom, she moved in with me when I say me, with my whole family. She moved in with us when I was 5 years old, and my brothers were 3 and 1. So while my parents were busy building their career, our grandmother was taking care of us. And it was so much fun. She was just an absolute love. And she was that Southern grandmother who, you could put your feet up on the couch and she'd make, butter biscuits that we would be able to have after school and cookies and all sorts of things. And then my other grandmother moved in with us when I was in junior high school. And so I had both grandmothers living with us, and it just gave me a perspective. I've always been one of those people that, I just see human beings for who they are. And so my grandmothers, I never saw them as old ladies. I just saw them as an extension of our family, just as family members. And their friends were my friends too. So it was really a wonderful experience. And then to tell the long version, since we have time here on the podcast, but right after high school, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And so it was very serious from the get-go. And so I was living in Los Angeles at the time and moved home to take care of my mom, but more so to help with my grandmothers. And so that's really where the passion started. I didn't realize it at the time because I was too busy, living my LA lifestyle. But having a family crisis like that really brought me home to really focus on my family.
I know you went through a lot through that period of time. I know you did lose your mom, but you still had your grandmothers with you, which is had to bring some level of comfort to you. And I know in the last few years I have kind of watched you navigate what is this elder care? So, and in saying that, we can talk about ageism because I'm sure we both have some ageism in America, and we will probably get to that at some point. But what I really, want you to tell people as an elder care professional and specialist, what are one or two things of that people our age and maybe younger whose parents are getting older and may have to think of extended care for them? What are a couple of things really that are important to think about?
I think the most important thing for people to focus on is to make sure that they have their ducks in a row. And many people think that they do, or the adults don't want to talk about it. The older adults don't want to talk about it. And the younger adults sometimes don't want to talk about it either because they don't want to think about their loved ones passing away. But everyone over the age of 18 years old should have power of attorney documents in place.
Mhm.
And what that is when a person is no longer able to make decisions for themselves, that they appoint a person that will be able to make those decisions on their behalf, hopefully in the way that they would have made the decisions for themselves. And so that's really the most important thing. Just to be able to say, oh, she's my next of kin, or she'll be my power of attorney isn't good enough. It must be documented. And
Mhm.
so that is something that I preach all the time because I have some clients that are in their 90s that have never documented their wishes. And we just find that to be absurd. But the reason why is because they never did that when they were younger either. And we never know when a tragedy is going to strike our family, any one of our family members. And so it's just best to be prepared. So that's the number one thing. And then the second thing is to have conversations early about what your wishes would be. And so most people will say to me that they want to die at home. They want to die in the, peace of their own home. But that isn't always the way it happens. Many people are passing away in hospitals, in nursing homes, and some in assisted livings and senior living. And so to have that conversation about when it is the most important time for someone to move to senior living or to get care outside the home. Because what I find is that many folks that are your age and my age, that they are taking care of an older loved one and they're sacrificing their time with their own family. They're also sacrificing time from their work, their career, from their personal life. And I've even seen people pass up promotions in later life because they know that they need to take care of their parents. And our parents really wouldn't want that for us. Our parents really want us to continue to thrive. So having that conversation about when do we make the shift from the care that I'm providing over to the care that professionals need to provide. I think those really are the two most important things.
It really is a cycle of life, though, because I've heard once an adult, twice a child, right? I've heard
Ah,
that. I think I've heard it said like that before. And again, when you get to be our age, oftentimes you are caring for elderly parents. I know that I'm fortunate to still have both of my parents with me.
yes.
There's a lot of time and care that goes into doctor's appointments and just making sure that things are running the way they want them to run. And so I heard you mention two terms. You said extended care, you said senior care, and you said a nursing home. So what's the difference?
Oh, that's such a great question. So, when we grew up, all we had were nursing homes. Assisted living is only about 45 years old. And so, a lot of older adults, all they have in mind are old nursing homes. And we've come a long way in the senior care industry. So, there's quite a few different levels of senior care that are out there. There is independent living. Which is provided in a senior community. There's also 55 plus apartments for seniors, but then there's independent living. There's also assisted living, which they just assist you with a little bit of the basic needs, maybe bathing, dressing, making sure you take your meds on time and the right ones, making sure that you get 3 delicious meals a day. There's also memory care. And one thing that I found with memory care is many people think that once they have a diagnosis of dementia, that they're headed towards memory care. And that isn't always the case. It just depends on where the condition takes you in your life. But memory care communities are usually assisted living communities that do have a secured door so that people are safe and we don't have those silver alerts when you hear on the news that there's someone that has become lost in a neighborhood. And then there's the nursing home. And again, they're not the traditional nursing homes that we used to see when we grew up, when we were brownies or Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, going to visit the nursing homes. They've come a long way. They're called sometimes skilled nursing communities. They're also called healthcare centers. So you hear those names, but that is when there's a 24-hour nurse that's available to help you with really advanced medical needs that you might have in later life.
There's a cost that's associated with all of this. And, I know from experience that we're not always prepared for what some of those costs look like, let alone what the actual costs are. So, you can pull hypotheticals numbers if you want to, but I'd really like you to kind of give some type of an idea of what do the costs look like, because it's not like we're just going to put grandma
Yeah,
you know,
anywhere.
to the home and everything's done. So what are we looking at cost wise? Because healthcare has its own issues in our healthcare industry, and senior care kind of gets entangled in what that web is, and how those costs are covered.
Yeah, well, this is what I love that what you do is educating people earlier in life about these kind of costs and being financially savvy in our younger years, because it's really hard to catch up once you're in your later years. And so, from a cost standpoint, you'll find that it differs in various regions around the country, metropolitan cities versus more rural areas, and so costs definitely vary. What I'm finding, I work in, obviously in the Denver metro area, but around the country, I'm finding that assisted living usually runs around $6,000 to $7,000 for the nicer places. And then you're finding that memory care is getting up between $8,000 and $10,000 per month, and nursing home care can be between 10 and now 13,000 per month. And what most people think is that Medicare will cover this, because they think that Medicare is to take care of older people, and it's not. What Medicare is, it's health insurance. It's just like health insurance that you and I have. It covers for our healthcare needs. It does not pay for our room and board and our housing needs. And so all of that cost is privately paid. And so people really need to understand that. And I think once people understand that their last 3 to 5 years are when we need the most care, they'll start to look at long-term care insurance policies that must be bought when you're younger, and also life insurance policies that have a living benefit that will pay for long-term care as well.
When we're talking about cost, because I'm gonna, me, where am I going? I'm going straight to the dollar, sister.
Good, good.
So we're talking about costs. And so there can be a vast difference in maybe providing care for someone who is less affluent uh,
Mhm.
than someone who is more affluent. I have heard strategies of, having your elder family members start to divest themselves of some of their assets, liquid real estate, that kind of stuff. Do you have any kind of guidance or idea or um, about that?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of experience in this area, because one thing that I do as an elder care consultant is that I walk people through the process of making these decisions. And decisions are made family by family based on that family's values. And so there are many people that would do anything not to have to go onto Medicaid and live off the government, is what they call it, to be government subsidized. But Medicaid is there for a reason, because there are people that have not been able to earn or save enough money in order to be able to pay for their long term care. So it serves a great purpose. what you do see is that people are trying to get around some of the laws, if you will, and you'll see families that are very affluent trying to put together trusts so that money can be passed on to the family, and then they're living on the Medicaid system. And that isn't really what the Medicaid system was designed for. But there are, it is legal to put your money and all of your assets in trust so that you do qualify for Medicaid. So that is there and available for people. And like I said, that's what I love about my job, is to really ask families what their values are. I know in our area, the Medicaid nursing homes are not as nice as the private paid nursing homes. And so I often ask families when they're trying to make this decision that they want to go and visit the local communities and see what they look like, to make sure that that really is what their wishes are. Because
Mhm.
everyone wants to leave their children money. Everyone wants to leave assets that they've earned and have that pass on as generational wealth. And so I just really think that it's important to do the homework. And if you need someone to bounce ideas off, an elder law attorney is a great person to talk to, because they do help families make these decisions as well.
I love this, and I'm so glad that you decided to be part of my conversation. So,
Mhm.
got a question for you. I have heard your TED Talk, and for those of you who don't know,
Oh,
Kelly had an opportunity to do a TED Talk, and it was phenomenal. She's a really engaging speaker. But you talked about this community, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Goldenista.
ah.
So I want you to tell me a little bit about the Goldenistas. But I also would love for you to just share uh, one or two stories of some of the clients. I know you can't necessarily give names and stuff, but some of the clients that you've had an opportunity to work with and how that has impacted you.
Oh, that's so great. Well, it's funny because someone asked me about my later life, and because I have all this experience, who was I going to be in my later life? And I said, well, I'm going to be a fashionista in my golden years, and the name Goldenista just came to my mind, because there is no way I'm going to be a little old lady that people are going to patronize, that they're going to talk down to, that they're going to baby talk with. I hope I'm going to be a cool hip chick my whole life, and listening to really current music, and keeping up with, movies and pop culture and art and theater and all the things that I love now. I hope that I'll be able to enjoy all of that in my later life. So what I found is that, talking about this, all of a sudden there was a lot of my friends and clients that were saying, well, I want to be a Goldenista too. And so we started to get together, and I've been having these really precious conversations with people about what they want for their later life. And so that is the Goldenista Social Club. And so it's really in its rawest form right now. But you never know. Sometimes these things take off, and then they become, a great organization for people. So we'll see what happens in the future. But some of the clients that I've met are wonderful. In the TED Talk, I actually tell a story about my friend Art. And I should say, he's still here. Art is still living. And he and his wife moved into a senior living community where I was working. And Art was so reluctant about moving into the senior living community. He didn't want to be there at all. It just wasn't cool enough for him. It wasn't macho enough for him. Like, he had this persona with who he was, but his wife needed the care. So they moved in together. And soon after, his wife passed away. And so here was Art living in the senior living community thinking, what am I going to do now? So he befriended the guys on the maintenance team and the landscaping crew, and he started working with them. Now he gets around in one of those scooters,
Mhm.
and so they had raised flower beds and all these things where he could get around. And he took such pride in making the gardens beautiful for all the other residents to see. And so Art's one of my favorite people. And I know there was another lady that she was moving into a senior living community, again, reluctantly. People don't realize how great some of these communities really are. And she was moving in and she was getting a little bit snippy. And her daughter said to her, "Mom, you need to be polite," because she was, just being a little bit snippy about how unhappy she was about moving to this place. And she looked at her daughter and she said, "I'm 83. I don't have to be polite. I'm tired of being polite." And I thought, girl, I am tired of being polite too. um, but there's something I love about working with my clients, and they're really my friends, not necessarily clients at this point. But working with them, because there's this freedom about freedom of expression that many of us in our younger life, we're trying to be polite, we're trying to climb the corporate ladder, we're trying to do the right thing, we're looking like the perfect mom or perfect dad. And there's this freedom when we get to be older that we just don't even really care what other people think. We really want the freedom to be who we are in life, and I think that's one of the gifts of being older.
Isn't it amazing how, having the freedom to be who you are, you kind of step into in your older years? And that's really a superpower that you would love to have navigating your younger years, because there's just a level of authenticity,
Yes.
I think that we gain as we get older, that we don't necessarily that we're searching for so much, as we're navigating definitely our 20s. I don't think I
Yes.
ever want to do my 20s ever again.
No.
But interestingly enough, I know for me, I started walking into that authenticity in my 40s. And comically enough, in my 50s, I kind of sound like that lady who's like, I'm tired of being polite.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just,
I'm tired of being polite too, and I think that was part of us being raised in the South
mhm.
is, we have this idea of the Southern woman and who we're supposed to be,
Oh, bless your
and I know, living up to these societal expectations, it's a burden, and so, that's one thing I have for advice for younger people. Yes, we have to, play our cards right at work and do things, but I tell you, the freedom to be who you are is such a blessing.
Well, interestingly enough, is as my and being able to just kind of be that person looking in. What I have seen is that, as we get older, generations younger want to discount, what our life experiences have been, and what true wisdom we bring to the table. And so when you're working with families, and oftentimes it's children and parents, do you see a lot of that push and pull going on? Do you ever have to kind of mediate, or have you ever had to kind of go in and mediate that kind of situation where you really just wanted to pop the kid upside the head and say, there's a whole lot that they know at this point, and if you would just shut up and listen?
Yes. Well, it's funny, people used to call me and say, "I need you to do an intervention on my parents." And I would say, "I don't do interventions on parents. They're grown adults. They can make their own decisions." But what I find is when I go into that family situation, it's usually in the home, and I meet with the family, I'll say to the older adult, "Now, why have I been called here today? Like, what did they tell you about me being here?" And
Mhm.
they'll have some sort of answer about what they've been told. And I usually say, "Well, there's two things that are usually happening. And one of those is that the kids are butting in and trying to tell an adult what they need to do with their life. And the parents are always like, yes, 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 my kids are trying to butt in." And I said, or the kids are noticing some things that maybe need addressing a little bit. Would you say that maybe some of that's going on? And they'll say, well, maybe, and then that really starts the conversation.
Grudgingly, right?
Begrudgingly, yes. And that's what I say, well, that's what I'm here today, is to really help distinguish between where are the kids butting in and where, as an older adult, do you need to take responsibility and pay a little attention to some of the things that are changing in life. Does that seem fair? And they usually say yes, and I usually am able to calm down the situation right then. But the thing, is interesting. I've been doing a lot of study lately about trauma. And we think of trauma as, some either sexual assault or a murder or, something very tragic like that. Maybe a husband passing away or a wife passing away, a loved one, and so forth. And it was funny because I had this professor ask me what my thoughts were, and I said, "I think life is traumatic." What we go through in life. I mean, to be able to make it 80 years or 90 years or 100 years in life, all of the things that we've seen, that we've done, that we've experienced, that have happened to us, that have happened to family members, we all have to, we all go through these traumatic experiences. And so I think that's one of the things in older life is that the resilience that anyone has to um, uh, embody to be able to go through that is just amazing. That alone is to be admired. And I think that's one of the big things that people don't realize is that anyone that's made it to that age is a really tough cookie, and we need to respect them for who they are and what they've been through.
I love that perspective. So let's talk a little bit about ageism.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite topic.
Right. And I'm pretty transparent. I am closer to 60 at this stage in life than I am to 50. And we watch ads on television. We watch movies and the mom looks like she's 30, but she's supposed to be 60. You typically see the older gentleman with the eye candy younger woman.
Yes, you do.
So, um, I guess I just want your opinion on how, and I don't want to, degrading is not necessarily the word, but it's definitely um, a disrespectful representation of women as we age. It's like, and women have always been held to this unapproachable, unreachable standard as it is. And so, as we get older, things change. Our looks definitely change. Our bodies change. Heck, the tenor of our voices change.
It does.
Our voices start to get deeper. So, I'm just kind of curious what your take is on this, because I obviously just like spit all of mine out.
Well, I'm glad you did because this is a topic that a lot of people don't talk about. And and a lot of people don't even believe that it really exists. And it does. And the thing is that we've always been an ageist society here in the United States. And we hear things about the fountain of youth. Everyone has been trying to fight for this youthful, and this goes on for generations. And so we've always valued youth, and it didn't always happen to be with appearance. A lot was for those that were laborers. We wanted them to be their youthful, strongest self because we needed them in society. But as we've evolved, it's there's this beauty that is happening, and is starting to be publicized more and more. And I think the pandemic helped with that a lot, because you had a lot of the ladies letting their gray come through, which I thought was so fun watching everyone go through. And I'm a member of a lot of these gray groups online. And there's another group that's called Advanced Style that I follow quite a bit. And they're a real high fashion kind of group. But these ladies have refused, and there's some men that are involved as well, but they've refused to say that style and fashion are for young people, that
Mhm.
it can be for all ages. And so there's a lot of younger people also that experience ageism too, where we don't think that they have wisdom. So it's really on both sides. I don't know what the sweet side, the sweet spot in the middle is, when the perfect age is. But yeah, I have a lot of opinions about this one.
Well, I don't think there is a perfect age. I just think that wherever we're at, we've got to make the best of what that time is, because tomorrow is not ever promised,
Yes.
at any given point in time.
Yep. And I think one of the things that's really important, especially for us as women, is to have role models of people that we see in their beauty that are older than us, that we can see how beautiful we think they are, and that we can try to depersonalize the aging experience for ourselves. One of the terms that I hate, and I hate even using that word, but it's so true, but is anti-aging.
Mhm.
And that term alone, we're all aging from the day that we're born. The day that we're born, the next day we're one day older. And so, this whole concept of anti-aging, I don't know when it's supposed to stop. But that is one term that I've been very vocal against.
Well, I don't know. My thing is, I'm very happy. I'm not a morning person, but I'm very happy that I wake up on this side of the ground every day. So
Absolutely.
one more day to be a better Patrice or deal with a not great Patrice,
Yeah.
or hopefully have an opportunity to do something like this.
Yep.
And it's just kind of connect and share ideas and share viewpoints. What is one thing that anyone watching today you want to leave them with?
I want to leave people with the fact that they're important. And I think we're not told that enough in our lives. We just go through the humdrum of life. And we're so important to the people around us, to the organizations that we get to serve, either through employment or through our charity and volunteer work. We're really important, and each one of us makes up the fabric of our communities, the fabric of our families. And without any one of us, it does leave a hole. And so I really encourage people to recognize their own importance. And also, a part of that is, so many times in families or friendships, we have broken relationships, and there is no time like the present to heal any one of those. And so I really encourage people to, especially as we're going into the holiday season, to really take time to heal those relationships, to make them as healthy as possible so that we can all have a great new year.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
taking
you.
out of what is a very busy day for you. I know how busy you stay, just to spend some little time with me, um,
Yeah.
offer your perspective. So, guys, that's this. That's this episode. I am hoping that you will take a moment to like and share if you are watching this on my YouTube channel, and certainly I will have contact information available if anyone is interested in getting in touch with Kelly and and letting her help you navigate these elder years through the services that she offers as an elder care specialist. So,
Oh,
Kelly,
thank
I
you.
appreciate you again for being here, and everybody else. I want you to remember that your day is what you make it. So you need to choose to make it a great day.